A very warm welcome to you all. We are about starting our free bootcamp with Hephaestus. We're excited to have you here. We would be going through our various sessions, but this session is just an introduction to the bootcamp and the requirements for this bootcamp. We're excited to have you here. We hope you are also well prepared. Thank you for coming. I am Janine Salem Ama Osei Bwedi, and I would be taking the first session, which would introduce you to this bootcamp. You're most welcome. So, who we are as an institution. We are an innovative technology solutions company, and we are committed to empowering individuals, institutions, and businesses through digital transformation. So we offer practical technology, education, and business-driven innovation for businesses. Hephaestus has been built by professionals from their experience in teaching, consulting, facilitation, technology implementation, delivering practical solutions across industries. So we are professionals and we've come together to set up Hephaestus because we believe that there has been a growing gap between academia and what is needed in our industry. Employers are very frustrated here in Africa because they end up employing people with certificates, yet they are unable to deliver on their roles. And from experience, we realize that people are so talented here in Africa, yet they cannot perform when they are given roles. And we end up losing these talents because we have not practically trained them. So Hephaestus was set up to bridge this gap. So we are a growing company and we are looking to become Africa's most trusted technology hub, where technology is developed, real software is built, and industry-ready engineers are created at scale across the continent. So we are looking to extend this to all of Africa so that Africans can be trained to fit into the roles that are necessary. Our service is designed to deliver job-ready technology talent. So we combine real-world training with production-grade software development and direct hiring pipelines to solve real problems for businesses and institutions. So we have modeled all our services to ensure that by the time you finish your training, you should be also job ready, because we have observed that employers are not looking for people that they will train. They are looking for people that will perform from the very first day of employment. We have built our system in such a way that every lesson is a real task, every assessment is a deliverable, and every graduate has a portfolio that proves their capability. So you would be graduating with a full portfolio that you can showcase and attract roles that you long for. So you would not just be holding a transcript, but you would be able to show what you can do. So we have three principal services and we've categorized them. We have our talent factory, we have our software studio, and our hiring platform. Now, The talent factory is where we train talent. The studio software is where we actually have hands-on training. So once you have been trained, you would have the opportunity to showcase your talent with teams, okay, in the real world. So let's think of it as medical doctors being trained at Kolebu. They are actually doing their job, but in a setting that trains them while they are in the real world. Our hiring platform will ensure that we bring to you opportunities, and employers also come to seek talents that would be able to perform their roles. I hope that you're ready. Today we would have Mr. Deborah Frank Jr. with us. He is a gentleman who has over 10 years of practical experience. He is a lecturer, he is an instructor, facilitator, and technology consultant, delivering business-focused technology solutions. He has provided practical digital solutions for small, medium, and large organizations. We are so excited to have him here. So through today, we'll be having a practical section where we would gain knowledge in data cleaning, visualization, dashboard creation, business reporting, analytical thinking, portfolio development, and real-world project experience. So we are going to be using data that is from the real world, and you would have the opportunity to see what happens in the data space. Career opportunities would also be discussed at the end of this session. Community and networking would also be an opportunity for you during this period. We would also be discussing how you can partner with Hephaestus to guide you through your journey. So I would want us to view this free training not just as free, but it's an opportunity for us to build future-ready careers with a trusted community committed to your growth. Welcome to Hephaestus Technology, where learning transforms. We are excited to have you here as we prepare for Mr. Deborah. We would want you to prepare, be in a quiet place. We will want your curiosity. We would want to see your engagement. We want to see you communicating with us in the chat, dropping your questions. And during the session, you would have the opportunity to ask any question, and we would be here to answer. So a very warm welcome to you all. Mr. Deborah, we are ready for you.
Okay. So quickly, let me show you. I want to show you a report about how data analytics actually display their findings. I have this PDF. Okay, so I think it's also on Word. Let me share. Okay, so I just shared a Word document. Please, if you can see it, please confirm that you can see it so that we proceed.
Please, we can see.
Okay, so look at this chart here. This chart was a response gathered from the back end of a Google form. Okay, so the initially the records were displayed in, as I said, in a data set format. And a data analyst was able to analyze it and present it in this format. So after looking at it this way, you can quickly tell from this report that the response were mainly males, because males were the blue side of the chart, which is about 62%. So without even looking at the actual records, you can actually tell what is going on. So that is a typical role of a data analyst. The data analyst actually converts clumsy data into a simple visualized form that can actually make sense to whoever reads it. And it's easy to actually understand. Another report here. Age bracket. From this report, I can confidently tell that those who registered this Google Forms are within, because it's 51%, are within 25 to 34%, because they have the major share of the chart. So all these are informed analysis that can actually use it for improving businesses. So look at the blue side is under 18. So we can actually tell that this is just a Word document. That's why we are not getting the full detail, but I'm just using this for representing some ideas that we can actually represent a report in this format. That will to be very insightful for whoever needs it. Another type of report here. Out of 162 responses, about 38% are employed, and equally 38.9% are also students. So majority of the responses are employees and students. How was I able to tell this report? I was able to tell based on the data that came at the back end, and I was able to visualize it and actually make sure it makes sense to. So when I'm dealing with this such data, I can quickly know that, oh, because the major aspect of the whole thing is students and employees. Self-employed are I think few, 11%, and unemployed are very few. So I know the kind of people I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with more or less like corporate workers, and also I'm dealing with students. So these are all types of analysis that we can actually make sense to the user. So this is what I intend showing you. Let me quickly switch back to the presentation slides. I hope you can all see. So how does the descriptive analysis work? The descriptive analysis first collects past data or data that has occurred, then goes ahead and clean the data. When we say clean the data, they transform the data from a messy type of data by changing the column data types, by renaming some columns, renaming some tables, changing some text to fit the analysis that we are doing. Then you go ahead and analyze it and find trends and pattern. After finding the trends and pattern, we represent it in a visualized form, just as I showed you. It's not only chart. You can represent it in a line graph. You can represent it on a table. You can represent it even on maps for you to actually see if there is a need for you to go on that tangent. So how is it used? How can we use data analysis in businesses wise? So data analysis help in sales performance tracking. We can use data descriptive type of analysis to track sales. Okay, so end of a daily a daily inventory, you can look at the data, visualize it, and know that, oh, previously we made a lot of sales more than today because we've been we've seen a whole lot of increments in the data. Okay, so yesterday we made 500. Today we are making, let's say, 400. So we can conclude that from yesterday's, we made a lot of profit. So all these are informed sales tracking, and it can also help you in financial reporting. Those are the banking and financial institutions. Descriptive analysis can actually help you to analyze your data and find meanings out of it based on the performance and based on financial trends. It can also help you to see how or know the behavior of customers. One customer will prefer a product ahead of another product. What is actually making this product sell more than that product? So you can know the behaviors based on a feedback and reports that actually comes in. Then you can also use the descriptive analysis to monitor performance of businesses, monitor KPIs of workers and all that. So let's see some of the advantages of descriptive analysis. It's very advantageous when you are using descriptive analytics because it's simple and easy to understand. Yes, you don't need a special or a complex ideas to execute a descriptive type of analysis. All you need is the data, and you analyze it and you visualize it. So some of the advantage also helps you to identify trends and patterns. As I said, it supports a better decision because we can actually look at the data and know that, oh, from this data, this is the trend, and this is how we are actually moving. So we can make some preparation towards that. It improves business reporting and also saves time with dashboards. You don't need to look at the detailed data. All you need to see is the graphs, rising and falling of the graphs. Then you are good to go. Let's see some of the disadvantage. The disadvantage here is it only uses past data. That is the data that has already happened. You collect it from the back end of a Google form. You collect it from the back end of a CRM. You collect it from the back end of a database management system or a back end of a retail shop. Then you analyze it. You cannot work with current or future data. That's one of the disadvantages. And also, does not predict future outcomes, of course, because they only look at for what has happened. Then it cannot suggest the best action to take. Since the kind of analysis we are using is a descriptive type analysis, it wouldn't be able to show you what is likely to occur or the best action to take because you are still working with past data. So, and another disadvantage is it depends heavily on data quality. So if there's a problem with the data, it's most likely to get error in your findings or error in your reports, because if the data reported 5 and the actual records are 7, you wouldn't have any advantage of correcting it because the 5 is the only one available for you to work with. So the quality of data is very important. So if you have issue with the data, there will be issue with the report. Then it also limits the strategy forecasting because it can't predict what is likely to happen. You cannot make forecasting easily unless you recommend or unless you move to the predictive or a prescriptive type of analysis before you can get the forecasting strategy. Let's see some use case. Streaming and e-commerce platform like Spotify uses descriptive analysis a lot. They will tell you Black Sherif is the most streamed artist on Spotify. How do they know? Based on the data they have, they can actually tell. Amazon is an e-commerce platform that sells retail products. They can actually use descriptive analysis to look at product that actually sells them more, so that when they are going for those products, they will know which type of product they will go for. Netflix also uses it for knowing the kind of genre of movies people actually like, because the more you watch the video or the more you watch the movies, the more it actually counts. So they after analyzing it, they'll know that okay, Game of Thrones is actually the most viewed on Netflix because people actually viewed it the more. So when they are recommending more genres, they will know that okay, this kind of movies actually sells more than because of the kind of report that keeps coming. So all these are use cases that descriptive analysis can actually help with. Let's go to the another type of analysis called the diagnostic analysis. When we say diagnostic analysis, we are talking about the type of analysis that actually analyze data to understand what has actually happened. So you are moving in, there was a report to management. The report were in a linear motion. Linear motion means it was in a straight line. Then quickly there was a steep rise. Then it came down again into linear. So the management would like to know what exactly caused those steep rise or steep low in sales. So for example, okay, so let me show you this example. The root cause of a problem. That's what the data analysts look at. Look at this diagram here. They ask a particular question. Why did so many umbrellas sell this month? Because of the rains. It rained a lot. So sales of umbrella in the beginning of the year was a linear sale or a constant sale. Let me say a constant sale. Maybe 2, 3, 5 on a normal. But when we entered May, it started rising to 30 and making the graph rise. So what exactly caused those rise? So I think because of the weather that we are finding ourselves. So in the long run, data diagnostic type of analysis actually look at the root cause, what has actually caused the dip or the rise or the anomalies of this data. Anomalies basically means the steep changes of data, what has actually caused it. So it's up to the diagnostic analyst to actually find the root cause of the problem. How is it used? The data analyst, the diagnostic data analyst also use historical or past data. Then they compare the trends and performance. Then they identify the patterns and anomalies that has occurred within. So when you look at the diagram here, you see it keeps rising in. So they tend to look at what has actually caused those rise, whether in sales, whether in financial fraud, whether in market sales, all those things, they actually probe into it and look at what has actually happened for the rise of these information. So how is it used? We use diagnostic analysis to find reasons for sales decline, of course, what actually caused the decline of sales. They also use it for understanding customers' complaint. After putting out feedback forms, we saw customers giving low ratings or bad feedbacks about your product. Then you employ a diagnostic data analyst to actually probe into what has actually. Later, you find out that they are not using the best raw materials to produce those products of yours. So you now look at increasing the quality of raw materials or actually finding better solutions. Then you can also identify the causes of low productivity, as I said, and also investigate financial performance changes. Why is people not coming for our loans again as compared to, let's say, last year? Oh, we realize that after probing or after analyzing the entire financial records, we realize that our loans rates or our loans, how do we call it? Our loans interest rates are very high as compared to other banks or other financial institutions. So what do? We try to calm down a bit and actually make sure we are aligned with other banks so that people will actually come back and do business with us. Let's see some of the advantages of a diagnostic analytics. It helps to discover root cause of problem, as I said. It also improves problem solving and decision making. Yes. And it also supports better business planning. So after knowing the root cause of a problem, when you are planning towards a new business, you know the factors to consider, and also enhances the performance and improvement. So it improves performance. How should after identifying the root cause, how will we improve the performance? You look at the parameters and factors available, then you know how to whether to tune it up or to tune it down to actually get the results. There are some disadvantages of using diagnostic analysis as well. It also requires quality and detailed data. Very, very important. When you are doing a diagnostic type of analysis, you look at it from this angle that the data that you have is not enough for you to perform a diagnostic. So you go ahead and request for more data. For example, you are getting low sales in the business environment. People are not buying the product again. How would you know what has actually happened? So you can put up a feedback form for people to vent their hunger on them so that you can analyze based on the feedback that actually comes. So you need detailed data to actually work with, and can also be time consuming. Of course, you need a lot of time to diagnose and know the root cause of a problem, and it may need a skilled analyst too. So you don't need, when you are working with a diagnostic type of analysis, you don't the kind of softwares or the type of tools that you will need are more complex as compared to the descriptive type, because you tend to look out for the root cause of an issue, which will need a complex mindset to actually look for it. Then it is very complex for large data sets. So if you are working with a bigger data like 2 billion records, a billion records of data, it will be a bit complex, because you need to actually look into all the 2 billion or how many records that we have to actually look at the root cause. So it's a bit complex. So let's consider some use case analysis. At the marketplaces, you can use a diagnostic analysis to look at for price change, customers' behavior towards your product, sales increment or sales decrement. You can actually use the diagnostic analysis to probe into that. At the finances, you can use the diagnostic analysis to detect financial fraud and insurance policies. For example, at the back end, you know, people actually use this kind of transaction on a daily, but you realize that there's a foreign transaction from different source. So you can now probe into that particular transaction and know that, oh, the source of this transaction, or where this particular transaction is coming from, is most likely to be a fraud source. Then you start probing into it. In a healthcare analysis too, you can use a diagnostic analysis to look out for the root cause of some sickness. Do the analysis based on the hypothesis available, then make sure you find the root cause of those. So at the health environment, aside the doctors, we have researchers as well that actually do those research for those health workers, for them to give their best recommendations. The third type of analytics is what we call the predictive type of analytics, which actually use historical data. So not only historical data, depends on statistics, machine learning, and artificial intelligence to likely predict what is most likely to happen in the future. So during the COVID-19, in the initial days of COVID-19, they started making predictions that based on the contact tracing that they're having, it's likely to spread, or people are likely to so all these are reports from the research or the analysis they do based on the available data, using machine learning and artificial intelligence to actually detect that. So it helps you to make smarter business decisions by identifying possible future trends and outcomes. Of course, if you know that data analytics will be growing in the next 5 years, it will be one of the biggest career opportunity in the world. Since you have that information, you can align yourself that, okay, in the next 5 years, it's likely to grow up to this point. So let me align myself, let me get the skill, let me know how to use it. Then I'll get myself ready. So when those days come and it's now demanding, we can actually be of use. So the predictive type of analysis basically gives you the insight or forecast what is most likely to happen in the near future. So the predictive analysis also work by collecting past and current data. So it doesn't only rely on past data, it takes current data as well. Then it analyze those data and find relationship between those two data. What has occurred, what is occurring now, or what is happening now. They compare both, then they apply models and complex algorithms to actually tell what is most likely to occur based on the current and past data. Then it will predict the future outcomes and behaviors. What is most likely to happen if the data that we have basically stays this way. So how is it used? It is used in so many institutions to actually forecast sales and revenues. It helps you to actually forecast what is most likely to happen when the sales increase. Okay, so in the next 5 years, the sales, this is where we see our company rising up to. So the factors that we need to improve the quality of service of our company, you can actually give it out based on the report that or feedback that keeps coming. You predict customer behavior. Of course, you can use a predict analysis to know what the customer is most likely to purchase or most likely to order, because you've analyzed the data that keeps coming and the data available to you. It detects financial risk and fraud, and also manage inventory and demand planning. So when you are planning for end of next year deliveries, what do we do? Since we have a predictive type of analysis, we can predict that, okay, this product sold 100,000 this year. It's most likely to double because you increase the factors that actually helped us to sell 100,000 this year. And I think it makes that sense. So predictive analysis makes sure companies moves ahead of its time. Let's see some of the advantages and disadvantages. It helps forecast future trends. Of course, I've explained that, and supports better planning and decision making. When you know what is likely to happen in the next year or next trends, you make preparation towards that. In the process of making the preparation, it reduces your risk and uncertainties because it actually gives you informative ideas of on what to do and what not to do, and also improves customer targeting and retention aspect. So if the customers keep leaving after tasting or experiencing a product, what is likely for me to change for them to be retained? Okay, or after acquiring your service, what would the customer need to do to actually retain the customer from coming back again? Those are the roles of a predictive analytics to give you insight to what to do and what not. So there are some disadvantages as well. In using a predictive type of analysis, some of the disadvantage may be large amount of quality data because you are most likely to predict what is likely most likely event in the next future. If the factors or the data available are not consistent or are very poor, you may not land into what you are looking out for. And it can also be expensive to implement because the tools and models that you need to execute a predictive type of analysis is very expensive and it's very complex to execute. Then it may also always not be accurate because of the quality of data that is most likely to have. If the data is not accurate, your findings may not be accurate because it's mainly dependent on the quality of data. And it also needs a skilled professional. So predictive type of analysis, some of the disadvantages, you cannot just wake up overnight and start predicting data. You need to get some skill up to some point. And as I said, wrong data can lead to very poor decision. If in terms of maybe you needed 221 and it came as 321, there had been a poor data somewhere and it will actually affect what is likely to happen. So all these are some of the do's and don'ts when you are using a predictive type of analytics. Let's see some of the use cases. Customer segmentation. Yes, at the customer environment, market environment, you can group them into, or you can classify customers into their behaviors, their feedbacks, what they are most likely to buy. So you group them, which customers like which product. Then quickly, you can make changes to some of the products that you need. It can also help you to detect fraud, because if you are you know what is most likely to happen, you can actually employ some security measures to actually combat or curb down this fraud practices in your company. And also at-risk patient detection. So predictive analytics can actually help a patient who is at risk to be detected as early as possible and be saved. So after looking at the symptoms or the hypothetical data of the patient, the doctor and the report is given to the doctor as early as possible. The doctor will actually look at the data and know that since they've predicted that after these symptoms, this person is most likely to be affected or will be affected by this disease. So the doctor will be ahead of time and will start working around solutions for that particular disease. So if it's a COVID type of, after your symptoms, then all the symptoms that actually gives COVID, but they've not really confirmed that it's COVID. But because of the symptoms, the doctor will go ahead of time based on the predictive analytics that has occurred to actually look at, okay, so since it might actually be a COVID, let's start treating COVID. So all these are informative information that actually help our society to grow using the predictive analytics. So the last type of analytics is what we call the prescriptive analytics. The prescriptive analytics. When we say prescriptive analytics, we are talking about using artificial intelligence, machine learning to recommend the best action to take. So after identifying the root cause of the issue, you employ another type of analyst called the prescriptive type of analyst, who will tell you what best fits the problem at hand. So in those advanced countries, they don't just make decisions, right? All the decisions they make are mainly on the data available to them. So you see them always getting it right. It's not magical. It's because of the data available to them. It will help the business to decide what we should do or what should be done to achieve the best possible outcome. Of course, after identifying the root cause, now why all these problems are coming, why the steep fall in sales. Is it about the pricing? Now we compare the pricing. Then the prescriptive analytics will actually compare all the prices of all similar commodities and use computative analytics and machine learning together with regressions. Yes, regressions also does those works to compare those line of pricing and recommend the best price for you to actually work around. So how does it work? The prescriptive type of analysis work by collecting current and historical data. Unlike the descriptive, which only use past data, the prescriptive also look at the current data as well. Analyze the possible outcome using models. So they use systems like the machine learning, the artificial intelligence, the computative analytics to actually recommend the best decision or action to actually take. So how is it used in a rich environment? It can be used to recommend price strategies, as I said. Compare all the prices available, then you use a prescriptive analysis to actually prescribe a particular best prices that will beat the entire prices on the market. Then optimizing inventory and supply chain. It helps you to look at your inventories and look at what best will increase your inventories and sales and help you in planning your business operations. So when you know what is best to be done, when you are planning, it becomes easier and it will eventually improve services and decisions. Let's see some of the advantages. When you are using a prescriptive type of analytics, there are some advantages and there are some, of course, disadvantages. The advantages may be it will recommend the best possible action to be taken, whether in the health environment, whether in the financial institution, whether you are working with school, wherever you find yourself, a prescriptive analysis will actually recommend the best issue based on the data or based on the question that you probe into. Then it will eventually improve planning and decision as well. Then it will go ahead and reduce risk and operational costs, because now you've left all the decisions for data to handle. So if your decisions are backed by data, it is very likely that you may run into risk, but on a very minimal level. Then it will actually eventually increase efficiency and productivity and support competitive businesses and strategies. There are some disadvantages as well, because prescriptive type of analytics is a bit expensive to implement because of the model that you will need or because of the tools and skills that you will need. It's a bit expensive and it requires advanced tools and skilled experts. So, of course, you will need, because of the type of business solution that you are looking out for, you will need a skilled labor to actually get it done. Then it depends heavily on accurate data. Again, if the data is not accurate, there will be issues with your findings. Then it can be very complex when you are using large data in large organizations. So organizations that have big data, it will be a bit complex to actually work around those, but it's not impossible, but a bit complex. Then it can recommend wrong recommendation may cause losses, of course. If it's recommended a price way lower than what you actually invested, there will definitely be some losses. If you invested 1,000 and it's recommending that you sell it at 800 because the prices are around it, you definitely run into losses. So these are some of the disadvantages. So at the prescriptive use cases at the retail shop, you can use the prescriptive analysis to actually look at customer behavior and tells you why others are not coming, then what you have to do to actually tune your pricing, tune your services. If it's a bad service, you can recommend that, okay, the feedback is saying poor services from your agents or poor services from your tellers. How would you actually fine tune that to solve those issues? It's up to the prescriptive analysis to look at that and give some best possible actions. At the healthcare environment, after identifying the issue, how would we solve this issue? It helps you to actually work on that. Then at the banking level too, the prescriptive analysis also the prescriptive analysis also prescribe the best possible solutions for the financial institutions to actually look at how can we improve customers banking with us. Okay, it will recommend based on the data which has been inputted into the system. So far, any questions so far before we move on to another type, another stage of the bootcamp, which is the data analysis process. So far, we want to take some questions before or issues. That is, any questions so far? You have the floor if you have a question. Any questions so far? Okay. If there is no question, then I think we can move on to. Okay, so Gershon is good with the explanation. Okay, that's fine. Okay. If there is no any other questions and we are all aligned, then quickly let's move on to what data analysis process do we follow before? Okay, so there's a question here. So as an HR, what type of data analysis can I use? So depending on the type of business issue or business question that you are solving, all the type is needed. Okay, or all the types are important. So I'm answering Dinah's question. All the types are important, but based on the business question that is available to you, will define the type of analytics that you employ, okay, or you deploy for that particular work. So, but at a normal environment, all things being equal, the descriptive type of analysis works for an HR, the first type of analysis, because HR always collects the data, performance of workers, measure their KPIs. So mostly we can use the past data or recommend the issue that has happened. Then based on the issue, you analyze it and you can know what is actually trending or what is actually performance of each. So I think the best that it can actually work as an HR is the first type of analysis, which is the descriptive type. Okay. Now, I hope I've answered your question well. Any other question so far? You're welcome, Dinah. Any other question? Okay. If there is no any other question, we can quickly switch to the processes. The processes that a data analyst use. I just shared my screen again. Can you all see?
Yes.
Okay. All right. There are 5 basic steps or processes that the data analyst deploy to actually meet its target. So the initial step is defining a question. So you look at what am I looking out for? Why do I need a data analyst? Okay, which problem am I solving? So you first have to identify a business question. Then you collect a relatable data. Then you can clean the data. Cleaning the data means you are transforming the data to actually be in line for your analytical work. Then you start analyzing it. And after the analysis, you visualize it so that it will make more meanings for report purposes. Let's take it one by one. So as I said, you will define a specific problem or business question you need the data to solve, of course. After identifying your data, what do I even need the data analyst, this particular data analyst for? Okay, we realized that there had been um, sudden decrease or sudden low response in sales. Then let's probe into that. So we collect the sales inventory record from, let's say, yesterday. Then you start looking at it. After collecting those data in the form of, let's say, a CSV file, an Excel file, or any other file format that your analytical tool will actually work around. After getting those data, you clean it by fixing some errors, by removing duplicates, by organizing data properly, changing the column data types, um, renaming the tables to actually align with what your answers may be, and actually start with the analysis. That's the fourth step. You examine the data, you look out for the insights, the patterns, the trends. What do I need this for? After getting all those answers, then you publish it in the form of a graph, as you can see on my right. So this is how data analysts actually put out their findings. So collectively, this is a dashboard. This actually gives you an insight of what is actually going on. You see this trend. You see there's a dip here, then it rose a bit, then keeps rising. So all those trends, you can actually probe into what has actually caused that for a successful business decision. So these are the 5 main steps, irrespective of the type of the data analytics that you employ, whether it's a descriptive, whether it's a diagnostic, whether it's a predictive or a prescriptive. Any of them actually goes through the same 5 processes. So before, I think at this point, let's take 1 or 2 extra decisions on extra questions. Sorry, extra questions on what we've discussed so far, or questions that is bothering you in general, before we can quickly switch to some hands-on practicals, so that I will demonstrate how we got this report on our screen. But before that, I want to take some 1 or 2 feedbacks on so far what we've heard, or recommendations, or anything that bothers you before we move on to the hands-on practicals. So any recommendation, any okay, so somebody said the explanation have very okay, that's fine. That's good to hear. So I think the explanation is actually detailed to okay. So is there any other question so that we can quickly switch to practical hands-on? Then we'll see how data analysts use some basic tool to perform some task and arrive at visualizing it. So collect the data in an Excel or a CSV format. Then we can quickly clean it or transform it. Then after cleaning and transforming, we go ahead and do some analysis, finding on some sales records. Then we visualize it on a report form. Very proud I will have if after a particular presentation you give us room to ask questions so we can engage more. Yes, so that's why I'm holding on right now for us to actually take some questions and inquiries or recommendations from you before we move on to the practical aspect of the whole bootcamp. Peps. Hope it's clear. So that's why I know it's a bit packed. That's why I'm trying to hold on for us to answer some or address some questions or issues. Then we can quickly. Okay. Is there any other question so far, or recommendations, or inquiries, or anything? We have only 2 minutes for that. Then we can quickly switch to some demonstrations for you to see what the data analysts actually need to work. Any question? Okay, so if there's no question, I think we
Please, there's a question here.
okay, please, you have the floor.
Yes, please, the name is question. And then I would like to ask.
Can you speak a bit louder? Your voice is a bit
Okay.
low.
So please, I would like to ask.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm audible.
Yes, it's much better.
Okay. So I would like to ask, like our past explanation that you did about the Amazon and then the Netflix. Is it that they always use the same tools or they have different type of tools that they use? And moreover, to are we all going to be abreast with all these tools that will be learned during our lessons? I would like to know that because most tools, some of us are not purely IT inclined, so we want to know if we are going to have different type of tools that will be used in all these data analytic things, so that we will be able to at least know when to use this type of tool, then how to use them. Thank you.
Okay, so that's some good question. First of all, as I said, they have models, okay, at the back end of the software. This Amazon, this Netflix, they are all softwares built by people and they've incorporated analytics for they are making some decisions, okay. So most of these tools or skills or models that they use are the things that I'm trying to introduce to you, okay. So they use some tools like Power BI, they use some tools like Python, they use some tools. The tools here that I'm mentioning are not hardware tools, in quote, they are softwares, let me say it that way. That actually, when you learn how to operate or how to use it, you can actually use and get these outcomes. So the tools that I keep mentioning are not physical hardware tools, but softwares and applications that they will need to know. So the first thing here is you need to know which tool or which software or which application that actually does which work, right? Then you go ahead and learn how it is used. Then finally, you know when to apply them. Gershon, I hope I've answered your question. So that is why I paused here to actually introduce you to one of those two. So we'll be using Microsoft Power Business Intelligence app, which actually is one of the tools a data analyst use for analyzing and visualizing data. So after we are done with the practicals, I think you will see or you have a clue on what to actually do. And after that, I will show you more of those tools or softwares and how you can also learn and abreast yourself with them. Thank you. Okay. All right. So since there is no any other question, since there is no any other question, I think we can quickly move on to our practicals. I'll be using Microsoft Power BI, which is The BI stands for business intelligence. Okay. You can have it as a free tool. Just download it online. I'll drop the link maybe by the close of the where to actually get a free version of the Microsoft Power BI app. Then you can actually follow it. I think the section is being recorded, so maybe later on we can request for it and follow them and actually be in line. So we'll be using Power BI as I said. Then a bit of I think Excel. You should have Excel on your machine because we'll be using Excel data set. Okay, then a CSV file or a text file. So the most important thing is you getting a Microsoft Power BI. Okay, so without wasting much time, let's switch to a Microsoft Power BI analytical tool, which helps us to analyze and visualize data. Let me share my Power BI. I just shared a Microsoft Power BI software. Can you all see? Please confirm for me so that we continue.
Yes, we can actually see.
Okay. So this is a Microsoft Power BI desktop app or software, which actually helps you to analyze data and visualize it in a report form. So as I said, I'll drop the link for downloading later. Then you can quickly analyze it well, or you can follow it. You can download it. It's free. We have the free version and of course the paid version. So what I'm using on the screen here is the free version that you can actually download and follow suit. So without not wasting much time, let's get started on the practicals. After launching the Microsoft Power BI application, this is the initial screen that actually pops up. Okay, so this is the actual initial screen. Then you can just choose a blank report. You want to start from scratch. Okay, so when you click on the blank report, it opens a new page for you. It's a Microsoft application, of course, so you can see the what do you call this? I think tabs, right? You can see the tabs. You can see its commands and ribbons within it. So the home tab, the insert tab, the modeling tab, all tab has different commands that actually does separate specific work within the Power BI interface. So today we want to analyze a particular data for an Excel data collected by some online retail shop. So let's say we are having online shop, then we collected their data at the back end in the form of a CSV file, in the form of an Excel file. These are the two basic file formats that we collect data with, either a CSV or an Excel, either a CSV or a text file or an Excel file. So quickly, let's import some data and let's do some analysis process. So the first process, we realized that we discussed that the initial process was to have a business question in mind. So the business question can be, what do we need this analysis? So why this analysis for the day? We want to know the reports, annual reports, okay? How much data, how much product were sold in a particular business year, the trends. We want to analyze the data. So first thing that we need to do is import the data that we want to analyze. So one thing you need to note is that after collecting the data, that is not all. You need to import it onto the platform. I hope you are getting the story. So after getting the data in an Excel format, that is the initial stage. That's what we call collecting the data. So that will be the second stage of the whole 5 processes. So after collecting or after having the data in your hand, that is not all, right? You need to actually go ahead and clean it and analyze and visualize. So now we are at the second stage of the analytical process, which is collecting the data. So we've collected the data. Now let's get the data onto our analytical platform for analysis and visualization. So inside the Home tab, you click on Get Data. So Get Data. When I click on Get Data, it pops up numerous data sources for me. I hope you can all see the data source. We have Excel. So it means this Power BI accepts data sources from Excel, CSV, XML, databases. When you click on database, you see all the list of database that it actually accepts data from. So if you are using Microsoft SQL Server database, which is the biggest, of course, then if you are using Access, if you are using Oracle database, any type of database that you are using, you can actually, so if your data is also from the clouds, Azure clouds, if it's from AWS clouds, all these are sources that you can import data from. But quickly, our first data that we want to import onto our platform is a CSV file. So I click on the CSV. So I select it from the drop-down list. Then quickly I click on Connect. So when I click on Connect, it actually browses through my computer. Since I've placed it in a strategic point on my computer, it opens for me. Okay, so I select it, then I open. So after opening the file or after importing the file, this is the first pop-up window on the screen, which talks about transformation of data. Microsoft Power BI uses the keyword transform data, but transform data in the nutshell means cleaning the data. We've talked about what cleaning data means. So sometimes you can see some of the keywords change, but it doesn't mean you are not aligned. You are still on course. But I just want you to know some of the keywords. So we want to transform the data. So transform data means you want to clean it. That's what the keywords actually explain. Clean it. But Power BI term it as transform. I think it's the same thing. So Microsoft Power BI uses a tool within it called Microsoft Power Query Editor. That is what you can see the name here, the query editor. That is what it's used for cleaning and transforming data in Microsoft Power BI. So take note of that. So that's why the interface have changed, because we are running it on a different platform within the same Power BI, which is the query editor. So what are some of the changes we want to make on our imported CSV file? Okay, so these are the columns. As I said, by default, okay, in my introductory side, I told you data are always collected in columns, okay, columns and row format. So by default, that's how data is collected. Have you seen it? Columns and rows, columns and rows. So the sales column, so all these are columns that we actually need. By default, this is how data is collected. So let's start with our transformation. There is the first cleaning that we want to do here is look at the sales column. The sales column actually have some, you see the column name, there is some numbers attached to it. Those numbers, come again, is somebody saying something?
Please, your screen is frozen. We can't see.
Oh, really? I'm coming. I think because I opened the query window. Okay, so let me share the entire window and see if it will actually work. Okay. Let me share the screen again. I think the entire screen. Okay. I just shared the screen again. Can you see it?
Yes, we can see it now.
Okay, so I just switched to the Power Query Editor interface. Can you see? Please confirm for me.
Yes, we can see that one too.
Yes, we can see now.
Okay, that's fine. So I was saying, after collecting your data, the next step, which was the third step, was to clean it, right? So we are here using the Power Query Editor to clean or transform the data. Microsoft Power BI terms it as transformation, but the actual term is cleaning. But I think it's the same thing, right? So to clean or transform this data, I was talking about the data being in the column and row format. As I said in my initial presentation, by default, each data is in this format, columns and row. So when you check, you have the column, which is the quantity column, the sales column, the month column, the year column. You see, all these are columns that we actually work with. But the first transformation that we want to talk about is the sales. We want to transform the sales column. What do we need the sales to be transformed? The sales column, you see there's some 1, 2, 3 around this. What it actually tells us is that there is a data type attached to it. There is a data type attached to it, which actually tells that this sales column accepts only numbers. I don't know how to explain data type for you to understand. It's when you are filling some forms online, you see some columns. There are some determinant rules behind each column that you fill, such that if it's a first name column and you put numbers there, it will prompt you that you are actually not filling it right. So the sales, since it's a sales column, I thought we should change it from it being normal numbers to a fixed decimal number. So look at what I did. Let me go back again. Let me go back again. I click on this 1, 2, 3, which is the data type, to actually change it from accepting only numbers to changing it to a whole fixed decimal number, so that it will now accept, since it's sales, we thought it right, we should change it to monetary data type so that it will accept money values. So look at what happens to the data. So after changing it to monetary data type, you see that the file format has changed, or the content or the records within the sales column has changed into money format, right? Yeah. So that is the first transformation that we just did. The next transformation that I want us to talk about is want to transform. There are 3 columns here. You see the year column, the month column, and the day column, right? We want to transform them and merge it as one column, because I feel it is taking a whole lot of space. We can actually merge those 3 columns and define it as one column called, let's say, date. right? So let's see how we can merge some columns. It's not really compulsory to do that, but to me, I feel it will make my data set a bit simple, because unlike working with 10 columns, I can now merge 3 columns to have 7 columns to work around. That is the reason why we are merging this column. So to merge the column, we select the first columns that you want to merge. You select, you hold on control keyboard, hold on the control on the keyboard, then you select. After selecting all the columns that you want to merge, you right click, then you choose merge columns. Isn't it? So after choosing merge columns, there's a new dialog box that pops up. It asks you choose how to merge the columns. So we want to merge them. Let's customize it. We want to merge them and separate it with a forward slash. Right. Then after separating each column with a forward slash, I want to give it a new column name called date. Okay. Then I click on OK. So quickly, it merged all the 3 columns for me, which was initially the year, the month, and the day, has now been merged into what we call one column called the date. That's what I just did. Well, one thing you need to note is that the original data set that you imported hasn't changed. Take note of that. Whatever transformation that is happening here is only affecting the data set you are working on the platform, on the analytical tool platform. I hope you are getting it. So after merging it, I want to now change the data type. Just as we did for the sales column, we want to change the data type for the date so that it will actually support the date. Look at the data types. It's text A, B, C, D. And the content is not alphabet, they are date values. So we need to change the data type to date. So I click on the drop down here, then change it to date nicely. So after changing it to date, look at the position. Okay. Now, I think that is all I may need right now. So when you check, we have the ID, the customer code, the transaction ID. These are columns that came by default from the data set. But all those columns are intact because we've not touched on it. The only column that we've made are the 3 columns, and we also change the column data type. There is a section here that talks about the applied steps. The applied steps basically gives you option to know so far all the transformations or the cleaning that you've done so far. So the initial one was changing the column data type of the sales, which was the first one. Then I merged the columns. So I've seen it. Then I changed the data type as well. So when I want to undo a transaction, or when I want to undo a transformative action, I just close it here. It quickly reverted back to as it was. Have you seen it? So after closing the column data type, you see it revert back to the data type being alphabet again. Now I go back, and because I will need it to be date. So I click on the date, then it actually works again. You see? So after I'm done with my first transformation of cleaning, I go ahead, I click on the home here. Then there's an option to apply the changes. So you click close and apply. So we wait for it to actually load the data. So one thing that I needed you to take notice, at the transformations side, the data hasn't been imported onto the Power BI yet. Okay, so after you finish transforming or you finish cleaning it, it actually now gives you option to import. So it's like you want to enter a room, you need to check whether your clothes are clean, like you are checking yourself, cleaning yourself before you enter the room. So now our data CSV file has been successfully imported onto our platform. Now we want to import another type of, because I want us to work with more than one data set. The first that we imported was a text file. Then the second one that I want us to import is an Excel file. So quickly, we go back to the get data again. We click on the Excel workbook. It locates where my file is located within my computer. I select it, click on open. So it's loading. It gives me the list of available data sets in my Excel worksheet. So I select the first one, which I need, which is the master customer data. I tick it, then gives me option to transform as well. So let's quickly transform that too. Okay, so this is my Excel worksheet. I told you the transformation is done at the Power Query Editor space. So we are. Hey, please mute your microphone. Okay, let's move on. So after importing the Excel worksheet, let's quickly transform or clean the data as well. There's within this is the first column, which is the customer ID column, the customer group, customer names. So this is also data about a retail shop. Okay, then down to city province. Let's look at this city province column. The city province column actually have two records merged at one. Can you see it? The city and the province. The province basically is the state which the city belongs to. So I feel we should break these two columns into two separate columns, or break this one column into two separate columns, so that we have the city as one column and the province or the state as another column. So let's see how we can actually do that. You select the column that you want to split. So what we want to do is want to split the columns into two separate columns. So right click, then you scroll down to split columns. When you select the split column, it opens a drop down, another drop down for you to select. You choose the first option, which is split by delimiter. That's the first one we choose, split by delimiter. So there's a new dialog box popping up here, which asks you to proceed. So how are we going to split it? We split it to the leftmost delimiter. What it means is that it's two separate words combined. So the one that have the most left with the space, then that's where it will break up to. So we select leftmost delimiter, then click on OK. Now look at what is happening here. It has broken into two separate columns for us. So initially we had city province as only one column. Now you have city province 1 and city province 2. But the name that we have here doesn't really qualify the column that we want. So let's quickly rename the column. So select the column, then you choose rename to actually help you to. So the first column is the city. So we rename to the city and hit on enter to actually save it. Then the next column, which are the states. Okay, Nebraska, Illinois, these are states in America. We got this data in an American online shops retail center. So that's why it's mostly relating to American data. Okay, so Ohio, Alaska, Washington, all these are states in America. So quickly, let's rename this to also fit. So let me rename to province or state. Let's maintain the province. So province nicely. So now we've split two columns. But one thing that you realize is that at the province column, there is bracket attached to it, right? So let's clean that as well. Let's remove those brackets from each record. So let's select and clean the bracket there. You right click, then you scroll down to replace values. Okay, so which value are we replacing? We are replacing the bracket close to which record? An empty space, right? Because we don't want anything to be there, so let's leave it empty. So let's replace with empty. Then you click on OK. Quickly, it has been cleaned nicely. So what did we do so far in our Excel data set? We first change a data type. We split two columns into two separate columns. We split one column into two separate columns. We change the data type. We rename the columns and we replace the bracket values there. Now, the last thing that I want us to do is change the actual data set name, the data that we imported. I want to change it to, the first one is invoice data. So I want to change the second one to customer data so that it will actually align. So customer data, and hit on enter. So you can see the name taking effect here. Now, when you are done, you can just click on home again, then you choose to apply so that it will actually be saved onto the platform. So now we are back to our Power BI interface. We are back to our Power BI interface where we've been able to clean our data or transform our data. So the next thing that we want to do is we first, we are still on the process. We said after cleaning, now we go ahead and what? Model it and analyze it. Okay. So let's see how we model it. Modeling means creating relationship between the tables or the data sets that you've imported. So there is a view. Currently we are in the report view. You have the table view, which actually gives you the table that you've imported. Then you have the model view. So this is what we wanted to talk about. So modeling basically, as I said, is to give you, it will give you the option to relate or combine those two tables so that they can become one. This keyword is a database word, relationship. In future, when we have the chance to learn database into details, we understand what relationship means. So in basic, I can say relationship between two tables in database or database system is to join those two tables. Is somebody saying something? Okay, let's continue. As I said, relationship between two tables is basically enforcing what we call a foreign key between two tables so that those two tables become one. What it means is that after the relationship, there's a line. The relationship is indicated by a line between one table and another table. So you see there is a line joining the invoice data to a customer data. How was that possible? It was possible because I've already activated it on my platform. Anytime there is an import of data onto my Power BI platform, it should quickly look at the model and relate it automatically for me. That's why this relationship was done. How do we activate that? So to actually set it activated automatically, I went to the file. Inside the file, you have options and settings. inside the options and settings, they have options. Let's wait for the screen to, okay, so go to the current file, click on data load. Then inside the data load, you see relationship. Within the relationship, I've auto detect a new relationship after data is loaded. So I've checked this box. That's why there was a relationship between my two this data sets. So you can take note of that. Anytime, if you don't want to worry yourself going around modeling it, creating a relationship yourself manually, you can come to this section and actually check this box, which will actually detect and relate those two tables for you. What will be the essence of relationship? So the main target or what we stand to gain after relationship or modeling this two data is that data from the invoice data can be used by the customer data and vice versa. So I can know, you see, there is a sales record within the invoice data. I can know the sales done by which customer because now the tables are merged. Okay, yes, that's the essence of the relationship and modeling side. Let's go back to our report view. So going back to our report view, we saw that we've imported two records or two data here, the customer data and the invoice data. Let's start with analysis and visualization. So the first analysis we want to do is we want to first get a sales made by customers. Sales made by customers. That's the first report we want to generate. So sales made by customers, let's expand the customer table, then expand the invoice table. So those are the two data sets that we've expanded. So we said the first task is we want to find the sales made by customers. So you first select the sales here. You see, there is a summation sign attached to the sales, which tells you that this column has number values which can actually be used for analysis. That's why when I click on the sales, it actually gives me a first chart. Then we said we want to find the sales made by customers. So you look out for customer, the customer group, sales made by customer group or customer. Okay, so let me, which one am I using? Let me use the customer categories. That one actually is easy to understand. Okay, so now look on the screen here. Let me increase the size. Let me make it a bit bigger. We've been able to achieve our first target. The first sales that we wanted to know the sales made by which customer category. So the sales, we have the sales in the y-axis and the customer category in the x-axis. So from this report, I can confidently tell you that the highest customer that reported the highest sales was what? The novelty shop. So the novelty shop actually made how much? When you hover the mouse around it, you see the figure. Made over 123,609,202. So this actually gives you a report. You don't need any magician to tell you which sales, which customer made the highest sales. Then the next highest sale customer is the supermarket customer. So there's a customer coming from the supermarket side, which also actually made 14 million. When you check the chart, you find out that the charts the rest are almost of the same bar height, because when you check the figures around it, the gift shop made 11 million. The computer shop also actually made 11 million. So the difference are not really big in data. That's why you can see in the chart too, the difference are not really much. So one thing I want you to notice is that visualization actually tells the actual story of the data. We don't need to worry ourselves keeping or memorizing numbers and figures in our head. We can just visualize it this way and quickly. So when I show this to a stakeholder, the stakeholder will actually know that, oh, Novelty is actually making some sales in an excess of over 123 million. So you see the input with the chart. So that is what data analytics is about. It's about visualizing or showing you what has happened in real time for you to see. You don't need to memorize or keep the figures off head. So that's the first target. We've been able to analyze and visualize at the same time. So the heading is here. What is this chart about? It's the sum of sales by the customer categories. So we've been able to actually achieve our first target. Now the next thing I want us to do is insert what we call a slicer. In Power BI or in visualization platform, a slicer is something like a filter. Okay, a filter, which actually filters the record based on a specific platform or data source. So let me introduce a slicer. So when I go back to my visualization tools here, this is a slicer. So when I select the slicer appears here for me nicely. So as I said, the slicer is used for sorting the visuals based on a given task. So how am I going to slice it? I want to slice or sort this record that I have here based on the years. Okay, based on the years. So let me go to where will I find the years? The years will be found in the invoice data side. When I expand the data, invoice data, I have dates, right? When I expand dates, because I want to sort it with year, the date has been in the hierarchical mode where it starts from the highest, which is the year, to the month, to the quarter, whatever we want to do. So I want to be doing my sortings based on year. So I just take the year. Now it actually works for me here. What would I use the year for? I want to sort. So the years that we are working on is from 2018 to 2021, as you can see here. So if I want to see, so before I slice it or before I filter, what we have here is the entire 2018 to 2021 report. So if I want to know specific record or specific report on a particular year, unless I filter to that particular year. I hope it's making sense now. So let me change the slides view to a drop down so that it will be easy to use. So to change the slides view, click on the slicer. Inside the visualization, you have the format your visual option here. I click on the slicer settings here. I expand it. Then the drop down, we change it to a drop down list so that it will be easy for us to operate. So look at the screen here. Now, if I want to sort this report on a specific year, let's say the sales made in 2018 only. When I take 2018, look at what happens. You see the report changes. In 2018, Novelty Shop made 34 million, right? Also 34 million. That was for 2018 only. Now it cuts across. Okay. If I want to see 2019 report, I click on the drop down, I select 2019. It changes the report into a 2019 report for me based on the categories of sales. In 2019, the Novelty also made 35. Supermarket made 4 million in that order. Is that I think there's a question. Let me see. I think there's a question here. Let me check the question.
Perfect. There you go.
Let me quickly address the question. Things in this application is almost similar to those in the Microsoft Access. Which would you prefer the most of data analysis? If I read well, okay, this is coming from Evans. Okay, so Evans, Microsoft Access, okay, is a database tool. It's not an analytical tool. So you cannot visualize using Microsoft Access. But the interface term, Microsoft Access is a database tool. You can use it to create a database. And data analytics is not too far from database itself. Or let's say database is the backbone, or database actually made way for data analytics. So if you can use Access, and since they are all Microsoft applications, that's why you can see the similarities, right? But you cannot use data, Microsoft Access to visualize data. I hope you get the difference now. Okay. So somebody also said, I would love to ask if, somebody was also saying, I would love to ask if one can focus on just on Microsoft Power BI as data analyst. Yes. Yes, Wanda, you can actually specialize in Microsoft Power BI. It's a complete tool. Most of the descriptive analysts, most of their strength is Power BI. Most of the companies employ Power BI to mainly for analysis. So we have a Microsoft Power BI specialist. Okay, so you can go deeper into Microsoft Power BI and actually use it as a complete data analyst, a descriptive type of data analyst. But the only difference is that when you are going forward, or as data keeps increasing, it's just only advisable to improve or add extra key tools like Python for bigger data. Okay, but for now, as I said, Power BIs are complete data analysts. If you are a Power BI specialist, you are a complete descriptive data analyst, which can actually analyze any type of data. All you need to know is how to collect the data, how to transform the data, how to bring the data onto a platform, and how to analyze it. Wanda, I hope I've answered your question. Okay, please, will the recorded video be available for us? Yes, if you want, we can actually share with you. You can just send us a DM, we'll share with you. Okay. Is there any other question before we move back to our... Wanda, are you okay now? Microsoft Power BI is a complete analytical tool, which you can just master. Okay, that's fine. Let's see if there's any other question. Okay, you want us to put it on the page? Abigail, what do you want to be put on the page? Please. Okay, okay. All right. If there's... Okay, so there's a question here. Daniel, I didn't get your question well. Can similar analysis be done? Okay, so can similar analysis be done in Excel? Yes, it can, but Excel is limited to some point. Okay, Excel also have its limitation. Come to think of it, Excel was designed and developed by Microsoft. So why would you think they will bring another analytical tool like Power BI, right? It can be done, especially when the task that you are performing are, you don't need any advanced idea to actually... So Excel can also look at that visualization for you, but it will be limited to some points. I hope you understand. Even when you check the records in Excel, the rows are 1,045,000 or something, and the columns are XFD. So it's limited to some points, right? But Power BI is unlimited. It's an improved and a specialty platform. So Daniel, you can use Excel, but you'll be limited to some points. Okay. Okay, so could you help go through the process again? I was lost trying it on my laptop, or if you can get us a short video for each step. Okay. So Peps, right? Peps, the section is being recorded. Okay, the complete section is being recorded. So when we are done, you can send us a DM, we'll share it with you. Then you can actually go through at your own convenient time. Okay. Daniel, again, can you show again where you got the data set from? Oh, the data set are somewhere just online. I downloaded it. Then I saved it onto my computer. So what I demonstrated is after selecting the type of data set it was, whether it was a CSV, whether it was an Excel file, it browsed through my computer. Since I've already downloaded and saved it onto my computer, it browses through and I locate it and I import it onto my platform. Daniel, are you okay? I think we are all aligned now. Peps, can we transport a data from Excel to this platform? Yes, we just did that. The second customer records was from Excel. So yes, we can actually do that. Again, the session was Joy, please mute. Again, the section will be recorded and you will see the process, all the process as well. Is there any other question? If no any other question, then I think we can quickly switch back to our Power BI and continue with. Before I continue, I'm seeing Samuel Kwame Boateng. Is that the Samuel Kwame Boateng I know? Please confirm with voice note, voice unmute and confirm. Samuel Kwame Boateng. Okay. We have a lot to talk about, but behind the scenes. So Samuel was one of my good students in IPS way back in IPS, somewhere around 2017, 2018, thereabouts. Wow. Samuel, we'll talk behind the scenes. Okay. So there's another request here. Kindly do well to share the link to the Power BI for us. Sure, of course. I'll share the link where you can actually download Power BI, free Power BI desktop app. Then we can follow suit when we give you the processes. Okay. Is there any other question before I quickly switch back to our Power BI? Then we continue with what we're doing. Okay. That window. I just switched back to my Power BI interface. Please, can you all see? If you can see, please confirm for me.
Yes.
Okay, right. So far we've been able to handle the sales, the sum of sales made by some customers. Okay. So, and we realize that we can even actually limit it to a specific year using the slices. So the next thing that we want to do is to insert some tables and perform some much more analysis. The next thing that we want to do is insert some table and continue with our analytical and visualization process. I have a table here. Let's import a table onto our platform. Okay, so I have a table here. What do we need a table for? We want to ask this particular question. Want to find the sales made by month. Okay, so sales made in each month. So let's see the sales made by each month. So inside the table, we are talking about month. I select my month. Then quickly, I scroll down to my sales. I select my sales. Nicely. Very easy, right? These are very easy, especially you don't need, all you need to do is master the skill of using it. Then you are good to go. Again, there are summation signs here which have behind the scenes functions that actually perform this task for you. So you don't need to stress yourself doing the computations. Power BI has been designed such a way that it will help you achieve this in a space of a minute. So let me explain, or let me narrate what is actually happening here. Let me explain what is happening here. This is the entire sales made in the whole 4 years from 2018 to 2018 to 2022. Yeah. And in each month, when you have to break it down in month, in January, they made 11 million. In February, 10 million. So these are analyzing it based on the month. So we can actually analyze and know which month had the highest sales. Okay. How do we even do that? We can quickly check. You see, I just switch it to descending order. The descending order actually gives me the month with the highest sales from the lowest to the highest. So the list was August, right? The list was August. Let me break it down into years. So let's say in 2018, these were the sales for the month. In 2018, January, these were the sales. If we click on the next year, let's say 2019, you see the slicer actually affects the entire report on the visualization table. Okay, so anytime I change a filter here, it doesn't actually affect only one thing, it affects the entire transactions. So please take note of that. So that is how to apply the sales made by month. Now let's continue and actually look at the sales increment by which year. So sales increment by the years. What was the percentage increment? Let's see how we can actually achieve that. So within the same table, we want to add it here. So within the same table, we want to add percentage increment by years. So in 2018, let's say in 2018, it was the list was 189,000 and the highest was July, which is 418,000. But how would we know in 2019? Okay, February was the least, 245,000. What was the difference between February 2018, the sales made in February 2018 and the sales made in February 2019? Okay, so all these are analysis that we can actually do. So let's see how we can get the percentage increment. To get a percentage increment, within the home tab, there's what we call a quick measure. Click on the quick measure table, which actually helps us to perform those advanced analysis. So on the quick measure, you select calculation. Okay, so calculation is there. Within the calculation, you scroll down to time intelligence column, then you select year on over year change. What it means is that we are finding the percentage increment on yearly. Okay, so from this year, January last year to January this year. January last year was 1 million. January this year is 1.2 million. What's the percentage increment? We want to know. So that's why we are going through this process. So at the x-axis, the base value, we are talking about sales. So we hold and drag and drop the sales at the base value, and the date too, we hold and drop the date values there as well. Then we click on add. So when you click on add, it pops up behind the scenes what has the code that has actually gone on. But for now, we are not talking about the codes. Okay, we are using the user interface to actually do our analysis. But it just gives you an idea that what we just did, there was a code behind it that actually facilitated what we wanted to do. So let's close the code here, the code. Then let's see our sales. We click on the sum of sales here. Let me close this. So now sum of sales has actually been added. So let's see what is actually happening here. Let me increase the, or let me zoom it out so that you can actually see the records. Okay, so let me start from the previous year, 2018. In 2018, we realized that in February we had 189,000 sales in February 2018. That was, you see, the percentage increment didn't come because that was the initial start point. So now let's go to 2019 and do the comparison here. In 2019, there was a percentage increment of 29, almost 30% percentage increment. When you check the figure, you see that the figure has changed. So the next was April. April grew not more up to 1%. So when you check the difference, it's not really that big. The increment, the sales made from April last year and April 2018 and April 2019, you realize that the difference is not that big. Look at October here. October, let's go back to October. October previous year. Let's actually see something here. In 2018, October was 255. Keep the figure in mind, 255,000. Now in 2019, October rose to 440,000. Yes, look at the percentage increment, indicating that there had been huge percentage increment in terms of changes, because initially it was 255 and it has rose to 440. So the percentage increment was around 72%. So in 2019, the biggest sale month was in October, which actually rose 72 points in that order. So all these changes actually was made perfectly by the help of introducing what we call the percentage increment, which was done by quickly importing it from the quick measure. We went to the time settings, then we dragged onto our platform the two columns that we wanted to work with. So far, we've been able to analyze some. Okay, so far we've been able to analyze so far 2 or 3 transactions. Now we know the sum of sales made by customer. Now we know monthly sales made by the customers. Then we know the percentage increment as well. Then I want us to quickly move on to another type of analysis. So now we want to visualize and analyze data using the map. Why would you need a map? Remember, within some of our records, we saw states or province. Province are state names in America. So we want to know the sales made by each province. It's like in Accra, in Ghana. Okay, in Ghana, we want to know the sales made by each region. So let's say we have a product that's cut across the entire region. Okay, we want to know how much sales was made in Greater Accra, how much sales was made in Kumasi or Ashanti region, how much sales were made in Upper West, East, all those regions we want to know. So we want to know the sales made by regions. So over here, we don't have regions, but they call it province. So that's why we are actually bringing on the map to actually guide us to achieve that. So without not wasting my time, we go back to our visualization tools and look for map, because we're talking about states or we are talking about regions. And inside the sales, we want to know the sales of sales made by each province or each state. So let's quickly sales made by each province. So the sales, let's look for sales. So we select the sales, then we select which province. The province is found in the customer data. So quickly select the province. Okay. So now let's zoom out and see whether we can actually make some reports there. You see, inside the map here, since the data the data sets that we are working with are relating to America, you will quickly notice that the highlight is around America, meaning the data set that we are using is actually giving us some insight. So North America, when I hover let me maximize this so that you can zoom it so that you can actually see. Okay, so when I hover my mouse around here, you see I select a particular province or a state, which is Montana, and I know that Montana made a sales of 550,000. So if I want to sort it in a particular year, so okay, if I want to sort it, I want to know the sales made in 2020 in Montana. So I go to 2020, I scroll in Montana. In 2020, they made 733,630. If I want another state, Oregon. Okay. So you can just hover your mouse around it and actually know, since it's America and we don't really know how each states are found on the map. That's why I try to hover my mouse. But if it were to be a Ghana map, of course, we will know that, oh, Ashanti region is there. So I just go and point it. Okay. Okay. So that is how we know the sales made by which province or the sales made by which region. As I said, if you have to compare it in Ghana jurisdiction, we will know that our regions are, let's say, 16. So if I want to make informed decision, I want to, as a data analyst, you are making a report to management. Oh, they realize that the least sales was coming from Upper West. You can actually tell. In 2020, let's say Upper West recorded the least sale, or let's say Bono East recorded the least sales. So how can we improve those sales? So in general, okay, data analysis is basically using the data available to actually make informed decisions, whether positive or negative. The data analyst can support decisions making. So everything is visualized in front of you. You can actually tell which records are found in which visualized tool. So this is another way you can also visualize. So I'm trying to use most of the visualize tools as possible. So we've used some charts, we've used some tables, we've used some map. Okay, let's see how we can also use the line graph. The line graph. The line graph. Okay, let me put this one up. I'm just arranging it so that it can actually fit other stuff that I'm bringing on board. Okay, so the line graph. Let's see how we can also use a line graph so that we'll see the trends. Mostly, line graphs are mostly used for analyzing trends, follows some pattern, moves in some angles. So to move the line graph quickly, I select an empty space. I look for my line graph. Let me squeeze my line graph here. Okay, I'm coming. I want to find a way to put my line graph on my dashboard so that when I export this, they will see the entire transaction. Let's say I'm mailing this to management. They have to see all the. Okay, so let me make this a bit small. Okay, when I need it, I can just maximize it. Okay, so my line graph. All right, so what do we need the line graph to achieve? We want to use the line graph to also find the quantity by month, the quantity of products that we have in each month. Okay, so to actually do that, inside our month, quantity by month, so we select our month. Then in our y-axis, we select our quantity. Quantity, okay. Nice. Now, let's analyze this. From what we have here, okay, we can quickly tell without even guessing that July actually had the highest or the biggest quantity in terms of data, which is over 266,000 quantity of products. Okay, in which year was that? 2020. So there can be a question like, okay, so in which 2020, which quantity did we import or did we bring in the most? Oh, it was in July. So how did you know? You didn't guess. You were actually, and you can back it with some records. You know that 266 quantity of items or products were sold or were imported or whatever it may be. Okay. Then in 2018, let's see which month had the highest. I think in 2018, I think it's still July. Yes. Oh, this is 230. This is 232. Okay. So in 2018, it's also July. So it means in July, there are a lot of sales or products. Let's say in 2019, let's see. Oh, 2019 too is, I think it's also July. Wow. May was the closest. June, it dipped. So let's read this chart. It was around 216,000 in January 2019, and there was a steep 4 to 182,000, 216 to 182,000. So this is where the diagnostic analytic comes in. What actually caused this fall of these records? What actually caused this steep fall in quantity? Then it rose again in March. It started rising again in March. Okay, then it still went further higher in April, much higher in May. I think one of the peakest times is in May. Then it dropped a bit and went back to its peak, which was in July, 240. So this is how so after learning the skill, we should also know how, we should also learn some stuff, soft skill as well, how to interpret, how to read, so these are soft skills, okay, because as a data analyst, you don't just give the data or visualize it and give it out. You should be able to back or defend the data or the visuals that you've put out, okay? You should be able to defend it by speaking to the visuals or the data report that you've generated, okay? Right. So I think there's another question for me here. Okay. I think there's a question. Please, Antoinette said, please, do you only pair data sets when you want the results to show in chart or tables? I don't know what you mean by the pair, but if it's about the relationship, what it means is that because you want those two data or more than two data that you are working on to relate, okay? So that's what we call the relationship. You relate the most likely data so that you can fetch some data from this point to another point. So for example, let's say we have employees records, okay, or employees data set, which basically keeps records about employees, like name of the employees, salary of the employees, job title of the employees, like some basic bio data of the employees. Then we have another data set like the departments, which actually keeps records like departments of the employees, the head of department of the employees, the location of the department, and all those things. You can relate those two tables so that you can actually know the employee that we are working with, the department the employee works from. So let's say if the job title of the employee is an IT specialist, then you can relate the employees table to the department's table so that you know that, this employee being an IT specialist, it means it belongs to the IT department, okay? So all these things are what we call database ideas. I understood how these things work because I understood what database means. I think we should find a way to learn some of these basics so that you understand it well. Maybe at the end of the course, I will show you one or two things that you need to know, okay? Okay, so relating tables together or pairing two tables together is very important so that it will actually help you to access another records from different table. Okay. 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 There's another question. Please, I have noticed something with your data boot actually. It's too clean. There are no missing values, no clumsy arrangement, like it is well clean, but it wasn't displayed how it was done. Or the data came just as clean. Okay, so done. I think with the current data set I'm working with, there wasn't much to do with the cleaning aspect of the data. Okay, most of the data you can be lucky to have it this way, okay? But some of the data too needs some extra cleaning. For example, empty records. How do you deal with empty records? We'll see. So, but for now, the type of data that we have or we are working with didn't really have a lot to do in terms of cleaning. So we only make some basic changes and basic transformation. I hope you understand. Okay. Okay. Is there any other question? If no any other question, then I think we can finalize what we're doing. Okay, I think we've done enough with the visualization. One last thing I want us to do is how to give it. It's a report, so we can export this as a report form. But before, you have to give it a header or a heading for it to actually make sense. So in every report that you analyze after publishing or after submitting the report, you need to give it a heading or define the type of report that it may be. So to actually give it a heading or label it, inside the home, there is a text box here. You just click on the text box. Then where you want, so since it's a heading, I think it will actually be good. We send it. We send it up there. Okay, let me rearrange so that so I'm trying to arrange the report so that it will actually fit the whole screen nicely. Okay. Okay, let me place this here. Let me place the other here. Let me place this here. Then let me now, okay, give it a heading. The heading can be, let's see, what can be the heading? Let's say, sure. Yeah. Yeah. So let me give it a name. Increase it. Okay. So let me make it a bit bigger. Let's say 20. Let me give it a color. Pink. Something just to be visible. Okay. Let me increase it a bit. Say 24. Okay. So this can actually be our heading. It can be anything, okay? But mostly heading should actually depict what the content of the report, okay? So this is how we analyze and visualize data using Power BI. The last thing that I want us to touch on before we go back to the slides is the publishing side of the Power BI. Sometimes when you are done with your report, you want to share with maybe a supervisor or so. Before it's published, you need to save it. I can quickly give it a name. Let's say test. Sure. It can be anything, okay? And the file format is PBIX. So I just save it. Now it gives me address to actually, and it's not just, this email is not just a normal Gmail. It should be your business mail. Okay, maybe at Hephaestus, frank.debra@hephaestustechnologylimited.com or something relating to. So it should be a professional mail, okay? Then after you put in your mail, then you can actually continue. Then you put in where you want to share with. So this has been a simple demonstration on how Power BI can be used to clean data, analyze data, and visualize data, and can be published in a report form. So if you want to share it offline, after saving it, you can just click on File, click on Save As. You've already saved it, so you click on Save As to rename it or put it in a particular folder. Then you can share it on WhatsApp or email or wherever medium that you want to share with. Okay, so this has been a simple practical that I wanted to demonstrate. This is not all, of course, that this is just a curtain raiser of what we intend giving out. So one last thing I want us to talk about is the career opportunities. If you are working with, or if you work as a data analyst, what are some of the career opportunities? I have some. I just shared a Microsoft PowerPoint slide, future market growth. Can you see? If you can see, please confirm so that we continue. Please, can you see? Somebody should confirm. Okay, all right. Now let's move on. So I want us to talk about, this is just something brief before we end our bootcamp. What does the future hold when it comes to data analytics? From researchers, data analytics is moving or is growing 25% each year. And from Grand View Research, they are estimating that by the end of 2030, the data analytics market should grow around 302 billion by the close of 2030. This is the source, so you can actually look at it later. So what are the factors? What are the things that has actually affected the growth of data analytics market? Some of these key factors are the digital transformation across industries. Yes, of course. Now every industry is moving to technology, right? Everybody is changing from manual way of doing things into systematic or software way of working. So in so doing, data is being produced most, whether you are working in industries, whether you are working in hospitals, whether you are working in schools, like wherever you find yourself, there is data. That's why data analytics market is growing that rapidly. Then introduction and adoption of AI and machine learning. Now, wherever you find yourself, there is AI, and it is all about getting data information. So it is actually affecting the growth of data. So the estimation, this is a predictive estimation. So they use a predictive analysis to actually estimate based on the current data that we have. Okay, so there have been big data from Internet of Things devices. Now every device have internet to actually access. Our Facebook, we have data, a lot of data on social media, which is actually generating a whole lot of data. So you can imagine this social media platform, how they actually manage those data. It's a very huge data. And the more the data grows, the more data analytics. Now everybody is moving to the cloud storage mediums, where mediums data can be stored not only on your phone. Even iPhone talks about iCloud. It means there is a storage media somewhere where most of your files are being stored, and those storage medias are occupying spaces. in a form of data. So data is actually improving and is increasing. That's why this report is actually growing that rapid. So to start a career in data analytics, these are some skills you need to have. So you can have some skills. You should have basic statistics skills, mathematics foundation. You saw us using charts. You saw us using graphs. So these are basic maths ideas so that you can just read and understand those graphs and make meanings out of them. And most importantly, after having those foundations, these are the main tools that you need to have. These are not all, but these are to say most of them. You should know Excel. As a data analyst, you should know Excel. You should know a Power BI, as I just demonstrated. You should know SQL, structured query language. That is the base of all the tools. Okay, we should know that one too. Then we should know Python. Python for data analytics. Okay, it's very equally important. Then the R programming language. Sometimes if you don't want the Python, some people also prefer the R. You have another visualization tool like the Tableau. All those ones are in-demand skills that you need to have before you become a data analyst. So you should also have a soft skill, okay, critical thinking and problem-solving skill. How to, after just analyzing the data isn't all. You should be able to also find insights. Okay, this is the data that we have. How would I narrate it to somebody who wasn't there? Whilst I was doing this, after this report, how would I give it to somebody who didn't have access to the data set to understand? I should be able to tell the story, or I should be able to narrate it, and so that it will be very meaningful to the people I'm sharing the report with. So then another thing is, how do we get these skills learned? You can learn it online courses. You can subscribe to paid courses. You can subscribe to bootcamps and intensive programs like the way we are doing at a small fee. You can pay online courses at a small fee for you to actually learn it and get a skill. Let's see the career opportunities. Okay, so career opportunities, a student at the end of a complete data analytics course or a database course, there are some basic career opportunities for students. As a student, you can actually add a data analytics to your skill. That will make your CV stand out for the lot. Okay, everybody is graduating from Legon and Tech, and what actually they don't have is the skill. But if you have your skill after school, you don't wait for somebody to actually, you can actually start applying for data analytics way, because the market is still expanding and there is more to do. You can also apply for internships with your data analytics skills. You can work on academic research. You can build portfolios and dashboards for data analytics. Then also, some of the careers you can explore. You can become a data analyst itself. You can become a business analyst. You can become a research and reporting analyst. You can become an IT and technology specialist. So at the end of a career opportunity for a corporate worker, after you've studied or you've acquired a data analytics skill, what is there for a corporate worker? Corporate worker can apply the data analytics by creating reports and dashboards for management. Of course, just as I just demonstrated, you get a data set, you clean it, you analyze it, you generate report for it. Then you can set some tracking business performance for your businesses. Yes, when you have the skill, after collecting the data of workers, you can actually make meanings and give insightful information to management. You improve the decision making with those reports and automate reporting processes. So which departments can you apply data analytics to? So you can apply it at the sales, at the finance, at the HR. You being a corporate worker, you're already in the corporate environment. You can, at the finance department, you can apply data analytics at the sales, at the HR, at the operations and marketing. and many more. Okay, so this is for the corporate workers. So the freelance, those who are doing it for themselves, what do you stand to gain, or which opportunities are there for the freelancers? You offer analytics services online. Online, people actually seek the consent or employ people online to actually analyze data for them. They are not working for any company. These remote jobs are there. Yes, they are out there. They employ you as a remote worker. You don't need to be on their premises. All you need to do is have your skill. They go through intensive what do we call it, invitation. They analyze your performance. They know that, oh, you can actually do the work. You can be analyzing their data and be sharing with them on GitHubs, through their mails, on all platforms. You can build dashboard for businesses, as I said. Some business can actually employ you as a freelancer to actually build a dashboard with reports for them, with some data visual applications. Then you can actually analyze sales and customer data for clients. As I said, as a freelancer, you can work remotely. You can earn through freelance platforms and contracts. Some people can also employ you on a contract base, perform the data cleaning, data analyzing, data visualization. Then you take your money. Then you move on with. From there, you go on to the next one. So this is for the freelancers. So some of the service you can give out as a freelancer is data cleaning, creating dashboard, Excel reporting, visualization, and business reporting. Okay. The last is business owners. Okay. So the business owners, after learning data analytics, what do you tend to achieve? You can use the data analytics to actually monitor sales and report from your workers. You can understand the feedbacks from the workers, from the customers as well. You can identify business and trends. Okay, so after analyzing it, you see some trends, some anomalies. You can read it and make meanings out of them. You can improve marketing performance. Since you can actually analyze your data, you can consider some factors that will improve getting the your market improvement and make informed decisions for your businesses. So as a business owner too, you can actually employ, or you can actually learn data analytics, and it will help you achieve these targets. So far, is there any other question that we've not addressed? Is there any other question that we've not addressed? If there's no question, then let me.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
With the data sets, the information that is found in field and everything, want to know, do you have a site where you can get all kinds of this data sets just to practice on it?
Yes, of course. There are online data sets like sample data, okay, that you can actually download for your practices, okay. Then you can actually define the data type, the data format. Let me say data format, in which, so you want to have it in a CSV format, you want to have it in an Excel format. You can just get them online, okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. So far, all what we've discussed is just an introductory to what we intend giving out as professionals in the data analytics business. What you've seen today is just the foundation of the whole thing. Imagine you are able to do this confidently and get paid for it. So this is exactly why we are introducing you to a paid course, a very solid data analytics course for 3 months, okay, which will be happening somewhere in 4th of July. Okay, it's a 3 months data analytics course for 3 months. Not only data analytics, we also have database course, which is also will also be starting around 4th July that same time. So it's a complete database course, which will comprise knowing how to build a database, knowing how to use the SQL. The SQL basically is the language data understands. So without SQL, you cannot use data because that is the language we use to manipulate data, SQL, structured query language. So we'll be starting the course for 3 months, starting from July. So it will be on database, as I was saying, SQL, how to build database, and how to administer database. And the price is just 500 CD if you are paying it upfront, okay? Or if you want it in an installment plan, it's just 200 CD per month. Very, very cheap, okay? We are just doing this to support and help those who want to go into data analytics and they don't know where to start from, okay? So you can bookmark or you can jot it down, send us DMs. This is just an introductory. We'll give you more details when the date actually gets close and how payment platform will be made and all that. So with the data analytics, we'll look at some sub courses like Excel. We'll look at Power BI into detail. Then we'll look at how we can use Python code to manipulate data. That's for the data analytics. And that one is also 600 CD, okay, 200 CD for each month. But if you want to pay it at a go, it's 500 CD. That's very, very cheap for us to actually come on board to get this skill. After the course, there is a certificate for you, something to certify you that you've applied or you've learned or you've attained some skill. So more information will be shared on the platform for you to actually get to get to follow. But I'm just introducing it to you. So it's 2 courses: database itself, which will actually start from what a database is and to how to administer the database. It's a practical base course for 3 months on weekends, 2 hours each weekend, okay? And I can assure you we'll cover more because we've done this for a while, so we can actually help you or assist you with that. And the database too will also have SQL. It's also in 3 modules. SQL itself, how to use SQL to extract data, how to use database how to develop a database itself, then how to administer it. Administering means the database has been created, how do you manage it? Or how do you secure the database? By creating some user privileges, permissions and roles, how to perform backups, and all those advanced database knowledges. We will be applying them during those days. So make it a point. We will share more of those information. Oh, it will be online on weekends. Okay, it will be online on weekends. 2 hours per session. Okay, yes, it will be 2 hours per session. So whichever you prefer, whether you would like to start with the database itself or data analytics. The database will start from the data, the history of data, how we got here, and where we are actually going. Then the data analytics also will cover the Excel side of the data analytics. Then into details from basic to advanced, we'll actually use the Power BI again, but this time around, in the details, how I came about all the things that I demonstrated. We'll see how we go about it, and we also do Python in data analytics as well. So that is about the paid course. So if you have any questions, you can actually follow our social media platforms or or those who are on WhatsApp group, in our WhatsApp group, you can send us direct message in our WhatsApp group. Then you can send us direct message in our WhatsApp group, and we will be happy to assist you in whatever inquiry that you may have. Again, it's 3 months, which will be starting in July 4th, first Saturday in July. Then we will move in 3 months for both the database course and data analytics course. Is there any question so far from all what we've discussed to the paid courses, whatever you want to know with the paid course? Any question? Okay, I think we are all aligned now. If no any other question, then I think we can end the entire bootcamp here if there's no any other question. So whatever questions you may have, please send us direct message on WhatsApp. We will be happy to assist you. Okay. Oh, you're welcome, Gershon. So we'll continue on the page. We'll give you more details about the upcoming event on the data analytics cohort and the database cohort. So without wasting enough more time, let me end here and say we are very grateful for having you guys on board, for your cooperation and for your time. Okay, we'll meet again very soon in our data analytics main course and our database main course. So enjoy the rest of the day. Bye.